Look at this chart of First Solar. The stock is down 68% year to date, but at least it is still around. Unlike Evergreen Solar and, oh yes, Solyndra, which, by the way, is an entirely bigger mess. Now, Bill Frezza is not against alternative energy, but he says the government is all wrong in the way that it is trying to create markets before their time. Bill is a fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, and he recently wrote about this, which is how he found him. And Bill, good to see you on Street Signs. Listen, you're a tried and true capitalist. You're a venture capitalist. You don't hate solar, right? You just think that the way we're trying to do things is all wrong. So tell us what the right way to do things is, because we need power from everywhere. You acknowledge that?
Well, it's a lot, yes, but it's a lot easier to talk about what's wrong than what's right. The market has to discover what's right. I mean, what the government is attempting to do right now is the largest central planning process in history. They're trying to re-engineer the entire energy ecosystem, and it's more than just point failures that we're experiencing. All these systems have to fit together. You've got to get conversion right, you've got to get transmission right, you've got to get storage right, and if one leg of the stool fails, they all go down. And so we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg now with these initial point failures.
To make alternative energy a widespread commodity, something that everybody uses, to make it economically viable, et cetera, to what extent do we need to see the price of, for example, crude oil and various other fossil fuels rise exponentially from here, just to give the right incentive?
Well, you're looking for that crossover. Well, it's an interesting way you phrase that question. In order to have cheaper energy, we've got to make energy more expensive. The problem is that the peak oil theories have been proven wrong, that the oil industry is not standing still, or the gas industry. They're developing entirely new ways to bring fossil fuels to market, and it's a dream to think that anything in the natural environment or in the economy is going to cause fossil fuel prices to go up. Actually, just the opposite is likely to happen.
So what should we do? Bill, you said correctly, it's easier to talk about what's wrong than what's right. I mean, you pretty much define sometimes the news business, right? So,
but Brian,
but let's find some solutions.
You've just defined the fatal conceit. I can't sit here and tell you what the free market solution is. The free market has to discover the solution.
But how about this, Bill? Do you give it a nudge? Do you give it help? Is there a level of, maybe not full government subsidization, which we're learning through all this solar stuff doesn't work if there's not a market, or if China's going to undercut us, or whatever it might be.
If you're going to do it,
is there a role for a nudge?
If you got to do it, you got to do it with early stage research, and you got to do it by following the commercial dollars, not leading the commercial dollars. The problem with scaling up experimental technologies too soon is that you freeze them in amber. You don't give them the chance to react to competitive forces, and you get fiascos like Solyndra. That wouldn't have happened had the market had a chance to dictate exactly where the investment should be going. So sometimes doing something is worse than doing nothing, because you take the entire industry and you channel it into the wrong direction.
When we talk about the wrong direction, is it possible to oversimplify and say there are, for example, right alternative technologies and wrong alternative technologies, and it's possible that maybe some of the government subsidies have been actually backing the wrong ones?
Well, of course they are. You can only know these things in hindsight. No one has a crystal ball. The problem is a discovery problem. You have to discover technology. You have to discover the markets. You have to discover how they react together. No one has that knowledge in their head. Even if you're a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, you don't have that knowledge in your head. We have to go out and discover it through the efforts of millions and millions of people and hundreds and thousands of companies. And when you pick a few companies to be winners and you back them for political reasons rather than economic reasons, you're just going to get one fiasco after another.
It was a good discussion, as always. I would expect nothing left, but you did just describe Herb at the end of your thing there, right? Millions of years and thousands of people. Bill Frezza, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Talking of said person, Herb.